Madam Speaker, I'll take this very early opportunity first to congratulate you. Madam Speaker, you are legendary. You are one of the few Kenyans that I know who have been able to serve in all the three arms of government. We saw you do some amazing work in the executive. We know you did some great leadership in the judiciary. And you're here in the legislative arm of government as the Deputy Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity on behalf of the people of Dagoretti South to profusely congratulate you on ascending to the very high office of Madam Deputy Speaker in this House. In the same breath, Madam Speaker, I'll congratulate the Right Honorable Speaker, Moses Wetangula, on being elected overwhelmingly as the Speaker of the 13th Parliament. Madam Speaker, this is my first address in this House on a substantive issue, so I take this opportunity to thank the people of Dagoretti South constituency who decided that kweli it's time for us to get back to Bunge and do that which we had started in the last term. Madam Speaker, on this issue of the speech by the President, I wanted to just concretize it into the thematic areas, Madam Speaker. I was able to note that the speech by the President was succinct. It was short, it was sweet, and it was to the point. And after all was said and done, out of the many paragraphs, one is able to summarize it into 7 very profound thematic areas. His Excellency the President was able to speak on agriculture and food security and the grand plan that he has. But not only is he speaking about it, he has already actioned it through executive action, because we saw him moving our subsidies from consumption to production, Madam Speaker. And on that alone, I want to commend His Excellency the President. This is a man who was elected on the back of a wave of a campaign that was driven by hustlers in this country. And the President was careful to recognize that there is a sector called the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And to it, he was able to speak elaborately about the plans on investing in this very critical sector. Of importance to me, Madam Speaker, is that there is a role for this House in connecting the drive on medium and small enterprises with the TVET training and the installation of institutions that will be used for incubation and for apprenticeship for these people who are in the micro, medium, and small enterprises, Madam Speaker. For people of us who are representing constituencies that are in urban areas, we took note of the great investment in the Hustler Fund and the Enterprise Fund, which we know is going to spur development in this area. Madam Speaker, I pride myself as the women representative of the people of the Dagoretti South constituency. I am a feminist, Mr. Speaker, and admittedly so. So I was very excited when His Excellency the President took up the women agenda. We know what the plans are. We saw them when he was signing charters with the women of this country. Not only did he sign a charter, he transformed it into an agenda in his manifesto, which ended up becoming the Kenya Kwanza plan, which shall be implementing. I commit, as a feminist and the women representative of the people of Dagoretti South, I commit to support any legislative agenda that will push the women agenda in this House. Madam Speaker, His Excellency the President was keen to bring up the issue on the health agenda. Each member of parliament here will tell you that when they are doing their clinics on Monday morning, the biggest issue that they have to contend with is how to pay bills. How to pay bills for hospitals, how to pay bills for the diseased. Madam Speaker, this country cannot afford to continue paying for health out of pocket. When His Excellency the President will champion bills to reform NHIF in this House, Madam Speaker, I shall be a champion. I will be championing for the reform of the health sector, for the reform of health financing, and for that, I commend the President for putting it in his speech. Madam Speaker, we have been told that there is a task force coming up to review CBC. So when it came up as an agenda on the president's speech. I was excited because some of us have children, some who are in standard 6 this year. We want to know, what does CBC mean when a young child who is 12 years old is taken to a high school and has to be in school with people who are probably 19 years, some 18 years, and this is a young student, probably age 13 or 12. So when we go into this issue of education, Madam Speaker, I know even this House shall be involved in recommending some changes to this CBC form of education, and this task force will be one of the things that will be a highlight in the life of this Parliament. Madam Speaker, His Excellency the President applied himself on the issue of ICT and the digital economy. Madam Speaker, this is the sector that brought me up. And I would like to report to this House that in the world that we are living today, ideas are the currency. Data is the currency. If we do not take note of the new and emerging economies in the digital economy and the creative economy, Madam Speaker, then we shall not be fit for purpose in a time such as this. So, Madam Speaker, it is my joy and celebration that His Excellency the President, from this very important speech, was able to address the issues of the creative economy, of the digital economy, the question as to whether telcos should continue operating as banks, whether they are regulatable when they are operating under where they're being regulated under Communications Authority, while they are also conducting monetary business that should be oversighted and regulated at CBK, is an issue of concern. The issue of Fuliza and digital loans, Madam Speaker, is critical. We cannot have a country that is listed as people who cannot pay loans. Madam Speaker, the idea of moving CRB to a credit system was very welcome as an idea from His Excellency the President, and I know this House shall have a bite on this issue, and I know our members who are representing Kenyans who have been listed, who have been condemned, shall be contributing to this, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for me, the housing issue is critical. I hail from this city. It is the city that brought me up. I do not know of any other place as people retreat to their rural areas. Nairobi is my ushago, so to say, Madam Speaker. So when this issue of housing was brought up by housing and settlement was brought up by His Excellency the President, I was keen to know what he has to say. Madam Speaker, I picked out a great idea of aggregation, of specialization, of standardization that speaks to the people of the Dagoretti South, who are world-renowned as artisans, as Juakali sector idea leaders. Madam Speaker, if you drive on your way from Adams Arcade, from the Adams Arcade roundabout all the way to Karen, you shall see the streets lined up on both sides by people who are artisans, Juakali artisans. These are people who will benefit from this housing and settlement plan, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, because there isn't much time to lay out everything I wanted to say, I will leave it at the issue of corruption, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member Fatuma from Migori did say that His Excellency the President had nothing to say about corruption. Madam Speaker, that speech was laden with issues that, if they are addressed, would address the main issue of corruption. But I want to remind us that even as we address corruption, we need to remind us what Mother Teresa tells us, that whatever you resist persists. We cannot keep glorifying corruption by giving it a high pedestal, Madam Speaker. Let us start speaking about integrity. Let us make institutions that are titled with the word integrity. Let us stop glorifying corruption as a name. The more we glorify corruption, the more it persists. Madam Speaker, it is upon us to align ourselves with integrity and ethics and morals, but not to keep glorifying corruption. Madam Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity, and I will take this opportunity to congratulate each and every single member of Parliament who has been elected, and I wish you a good
Thank you, Member for Dagoretti, and thank you for your kind words. I will now call Member for Suna West.